If you can, say and spell your first and last name for us.
Cheri, Cheri, and Carlton, Carlton.
Okay. Well, Cheri, this interview is about you, so I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up? Where did you call home? And what was that like?
I grew up in basically suburban New Orleans, Algiers, West Bank. My childhood was a real mix of good and bad.
Okay.
You know.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, there was a lot of abuse.
Okay.
In my childhood, a lot, and started at a very young age. But I do have good memories.
Okay.
Of my childhood, which I didn't used to have.
Right.
So it's nice to have good memories. You know, like we didn't buy crawfish. We lived near enough to the swamps that we would take the nets out and crawfish and get our own crawfish, the wild crawfish.
Gotcha.
And I did that with my father. And he'd take me out and we'd go catch snakes.
Oh, wow.
We especially like coral snakes.
Okay.
They got a lot of money from the pet stores and from the like LSU, because they would get the venom to
lab.
make the anti-venoms. So they paid a lot for the coral snakes.
Yeah, sure.
So there was some good
and
there.
I think this is a good time to segue into your book, because I think that your past was what inspired you to write your book. So can you explain a little bit about what message you'd like to send out to those readers, and talk about what message you want to have out there regarding your book?
I wrote the book to help educate people about mental illness, but specifically about my diagnosis, which is dissociative identity disorder, which some people may remember as multiple personality disorder.
Okay.
I think it's still a fairly misunderstood mental illness. I wrote with the goal of helping people understand how the disorder happens. What does it take to push a child to the point where they say to themselves, I am no longer here, it's somebody else going through this. And so many of the memories that I write are in very deep detail.
Okay.
And before each memory, I invite the reader to join me. I say, close your eyes and try to imagine. And that kind of helps draw the reader in to what I'm writing. I've had quite a few people tell me they couldn't read the book.
Right.
Others have said that it's a good book, but very difficult to read. I didn't write it for entertainment.
Right.
You know, I wrote it to help increase understanding of that disorder.
Do you think it helped you cope with the issues that you had to face?
I think it helped me. Number one, it helped me understand and see how far I've come and how much I've grown in the past 35 years, I guess. It also, things came out that I didn't remember beforehand. So it gave me more insight in the parts of me that I hadn't really tapped yet.
Like memories you suppressed.
And it helped me understand also a lot where I am today.
Okay. And where is that?
So I've come a long way. I'm very comfortable with who I am. I can see and accept and be okay with my strengths, my weaknesses, my talents, my creativity, all those things that are part of me. I'm okay with all that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm okay with other people. You know, I can be accepting, and you know, you're you and I'm me, but I also have learned how to choose who I hang with.
Yes.
I no longer choose to hang with people who are negative for me. You're okay. You can
Right.
be who you want to be, but I can choose not to hang with you because you're too negative for me.
Right.
It's not about you, it's about me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and there's an old expression, you are the company you keep.
exactly.
And that's very true.
Exactly. So, I strive to hang with people who are more positive.
That's
upbeat.
great. And I thank you for the copy of the book that you gave me. I look forward to reading it. Have you had any readers come to you afterward to say that you might have helped them through?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Tell me a
yes.
little bit how that made you feel.
I have always been the kind of person that if I do something and it helps or touches just one person, it was worth the effort to do whatever it is I did. So I've had several people come to me and say, I've gained a much greater insight to mental illness. Or I had a friend or a family member who had this disorder and I didn't understand what they were going through. Now I understand better who they are and what they went through and where they are. And that's just like all the effort and all the stuff made it worth it.
Definitely.
But my goal, hopefully, is to get the book on either the reading list or even the required reading list for university classes on abnormal psych classes,
I see.
courses.
Well, that's a good goal to have.
That's my ultimate goal in writing it.
Awesome. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. How long have you been a member of AOC? And tell me how you first got involved with it.
I've been involved with AOC for, golly, how long? Probably 10 years now, maybe. I had a friend who was co-hosting a program,
Okay.
and she wanted off. And she kept pushing me to do it. And because I had a degree in social work, I have a master's in social work. And she wanted me to be on it. It was Insight in mental health.
Oh, yeah.
And I finally agreed to guest appear. And I guest appeared, and it was like magic. It was like, I had always dreamed of being an actress. I always thought it would be fun to be an actress. And it was like the magic door opened. And so I co-hosted for Insight for about, I'd say probably about a year and a half. And then I did some other little stuff. And then I co-hosted another program, Heartbeat, Louisiana Heartbeats with Sudi. Did a couple of shows with her. And then I did my own program. I did Sleep Time Really.
Okay.
And because I had been recently diagnosed with narcolepsy.
Okay.
And I already had 3 diagnosed sleep disorders.
Oh, wow.
So that brought me up to 4. And I got to thinking about the misunderstanding about sleep disorders and how sleep disturbances can be considered under psychiatric disorders like depression and such. But how many doctors considered that the depression could be being caused from the sleep disorder and the person not getting sleep? So that's why I wanted to do that program, to help educate about sleeplessness.
Gotcha.
And it was cool.
One of the things that I'm learning as I'm working here at AOC is that there are members in the community that just they're not aware of everything that AOC has to offer. Whenever you first got involved with AOC, were you surprised by everything that the community is allowed to do here? Or
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I try to draw people in all the time. I talk about AOC all the time. I'm on Facebook. I post about AOC
Thank
all the
you.
time, and try to get people to come. And I tell them, I said, if nothing else, you can go in and say you want a tour, and somebody will show you around and
Right.
show you the facilities and everything. You don't have to commit to anything or anything. But yeah, I talk about it all the time
Great.
because
Thank
it's
you.
so awesome.
well, in looking ahead, are there any projects concerning AOC that you're interested in pursuing? Or
There
are any-
is a program that's been in my head for a couple of years now.
Okay.
I've tried 3 times now to try to get it started. Know that it's meant to be, just probably the time wasn't right.
Gotcha.
But I would like to do a show called Do You Really Know Me? Exploring cultural differences. And kind of, I don't want it to be specifically about prejudiceness. I don't want it to be a focus on prejudiceness, but I want it to be addressing prejudiceness by pointing out that basically, yeah, we have differences, but we're all the same. And how many times do we have differences that we misunderstand? Or we think we know where it came from, but we really don't.
Right.
You know, like I interviewed a woman one day from Iran, and I asked her about her head gear, and the answer she gave was so completely different from what I had taught it had been.
Right.
You know, for her and women in that culture, it's a positive thing. She says it's to hide our beauty. It's so the man has to be forced to get to know us before they see our physical beauty.
Well, isn't that nice?
And I was like, you know, that's awesome. That is awesome. That's completely different
Right.
from what I think a lot of Americans think.
Oh, right.
So that's the kind of thing I want the show to focus on.
That sounds like a great
is the
program.
differences, but the samenesses too, and show that we're all human beings. We all do the same thing. We all eat. We all drink. We all get sick. We're all born. We all die. You know, why does this make so much difference?
Gotcha.
So.
Well, thank you for elaborating on your AOC potential project. We'd probably love to help you with that. Let's go back to school a little bit. You mentioned that you went to college and have a master's. Where did you go to high school? And then tell me about that and your college.
College experience. I went to school on the West Bank.
Okay.
I actually didn't finish high school.
Okay.
I got my GED. Waited, got married, I had my daughter, and waited until she was in the 2nd grade before I started college.
Oh, wow.
Went through voc rehab, actually, and they evaluated me and all that stuff, made sure I was college material. Started at Delgado in New Orleans. Spent, I think, a semester or 2 there, and then transferred to LSU. So I got my BA at LSU in liberal arts
Okay.
with a major in psychology. Was on the governor's list, got a certificate from the president,
Oh, wow.
which I thought was kind of cool. And then decided I wanted to go to social work school. There was only one college in Louisiana that had a clinical social work program, and that was Tulane.
Okay.
I took my the test you're supposed to take before you go to graduate school. Got a really bad score.
Uh-oh.
I did really, really bad on it. But I still applied to Tulane and was accepted, and even got a grant, a special grant to go there.
Sounds like that door opened for you just
Yep.
at the right time.
It was, you know, and other people found out I only applied to one university, and I found out they applied to 10 or 15, and I'm like, and
Yeah.
they looked at me like,
Yeah.
you know, and I went, but I knew it was the one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I researched it all, I prayed about it,
Yeah.
and that was the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So when I applied, I knew I was going to get accepted.
Great. After college, what did you do then?
I did practice
Mhm.
for about 5 years.
Okay.
I worked as a crisis intervention therapist with kids, which is real challenging.
Sure.
When you have a child in a situation and the parents continue to put the child in the danger zone, and there's nothing you can do about it, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard. So I went from there to working with the severely mentally ill,
Okay.
which I found just as frustrating because it was just maintenance. You really can't help them. And my goal was always to help people learn and grow.
Right.
But I got that when I moved here and I started working at Vermilion Hospital. I worked at Vermilion Hospital. And that was when I was able to work with people where you could see the lights going off in
Right,
their heads.
right.
Oh, that's, you know, and see some people start the change process and the growing process.
Gotcha.
That's
wonderful.
so.
With such an adverse background or youth growing up and having to cope with the abuse, did you find inspiration in other people, or was there anyone in your life that you would consider to be a mentor or someone that helped you?
I'm LDS, Mormon. When I joined the church, I attribute attending the LDS church to a lot of my growth.
Okay.
The people didn't teach me directly. It was through example and the way they treated me. You know, they didn't allow the manipulative behavior. They didn't, they were more open and honest and taught me that it was okay to be that way.
Yeah.
They were very giving people and never had strings attached to what
That's
they gave,
nice.
which is not the way I grew up.
Right.
You know, always strings attached.
Sure.
And so I had quite a few of the women in the church who I admired and looked up to and strove to be like. And it was awesome. And it's funny because when I moved, I lost touch with a lot of these women, or they would move. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I've reconnected with a lot of these women
Oh,
on
wow.
Facebook. And it's awesome.
Facebook is great.
I
Great way
love
to
it.
connect.
I love it. So many people say there's bad, oh, the internet's so bad. And I said, yeah, there is a lot of bad,
There is.
but there's a lot of good too.
There is.
There's a lot of good.
Regarding positive energy and connecting with people, do you involve yourself with any nonprofits here in Lafayette or do any charity work?
I have. I'm not currently,
Okay.
but I have. I did work, I worked for a long time at St. Joseph's Diner. Loved it. Actually got to where they would let me cook, actually. I worked, I'm trying to remember what else I've done. I can't remember right now. But that was one of my major ones.
Okay.
But I worked there for a long time. I'm the kind of person that I'm an introvert,
Mm-hmm.
so interacting with a lot of people is very difficult
Okay.
for me. Socializing is not easy
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look for community service work or whatever, I look for small groups
Gotcha.
to work with,
Yeah.
so that I don't have to get stressed out being around too many people. I do the streets a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and help the homeless as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just more of a one-on-one.
Yeah. One-on-one Good Samaritan. The world needs a lot of those.
I don't know if I'm a good Samaritan, but
Yeah.
my whole philosophy of life is I can't fix the world.
Mm-hmm.
I can't fix world hunger. I can't fix or stop the wars. I can't do anything about all those things. But I can do something about my little section of the world.
Right. Right.
And my little section of the world is Lafayette.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it here.
Yes.
And when I walk the streets and I go about, my goal is always to enrich, to make better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't complain about what's wrong with me physically. I don't complain if I don't feel good. I don't,
Right.
you know, it's always good morning.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? I say good morning whatever time of day it is. Good morning.
Yeah.
Some of the bus drivers get, you know, it's not morning, you know. But that's what I strive to do, is better my little bubble of the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, and in tapping into what you just said a few minutes ago about being an introvert, if for one day you could be in someone else's shoes, who would you be?
Oh, that is an awesome question. Several people come to mind.
Oh, great. Name them all.
I would love to sit in Dwayne Johnson's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
He is such an awesome person.
He is. Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp is a really awesome person. I would love to sit in a singer's body. And be
Can you
able-
sing?
No,
I can't either.
absolutely not. And I love to sing, but nobody loves to hear me. It's just really bad. It's not one of my talents. Although my daughter sings like a dove, you know. But yeah, if I could sing in like Barbra Streisand
Okay.
or Celine Dion or Jane Oliver, those beautiful, or even Bette Midler
Oh, yeah.
with that
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, and along those lines, who are some of your favorite musicians and what type of music do you like?
I like the old 40s through 70s,
Oh, wow. That's a big range.
rock and country.
Uh-huh.
I don't like rap at all.
Okay.
I don't like opera. I like musicals.
Okay.
Some of my favorite artists are like Charlie Pride,
Oh, I love Charlie Pride.
Marty Robbins,
Mm-hmm.
rock is John Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Love John Denver.
Yeah.
But I have, you know, I have so much music, I don't know.
Yeah.
One time I gave away like 40 CDs because I had so much music that I couldn't decide what to listen to. I ended up listening to nothing.
Right,
because I
right.
couldn't decide what to listen to. So I was like, here, somebody
Yeah.
take some of these CDs so I can
Sure.
listen to some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha. What about movies and reading? Do you like to read books? Are you
Love
reading
to
anything
read.
right now?
love to read. I would, in the process of reading the series of Game of Thrones
Oh,
right
me too.
now. Yeah, I'm on the fourth book
Okay.
right now.
All right.
Something for crows.
Yeah.
Feast for crows
Yeah.
or something. Yeah. And I love fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I adore fantasy. I like even movies and books. I prefer fantasy.
Okay.
But I like autobiographies. Really like autobiographies.
All right. What's
And,
one recent that you read that you enjoyed reading?
I haven't read an autobiography recently.
Okay.
I've been into fantasy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really read any autobiographies. I read the autobiography from, I'm sorry, my mind just
That's
went.
okay.
Her name was there and then it went. The daughter of the guy from India, after he died, and she got into the political,
Malala?
Gandhi.
Oh,
Gandhi's
Gandhi,
daughter.
yeah. Mhm.
Gandhi's daughter. She was an awesome woman. Just amazing to me. My hero when I was growing up was Helen Keller.
Oh.
You know, I mean, I can remember thinking if she can do everything that she did, being blind and deaf. I mean, she got college degrees. She spoke all over the world in behalf of the blind deaf community. She went and talked before Congress. She was awesome. And you got to give a lot of credit to Anne Sullivan.
Sure.
You know,
yes.
because Helen wouldn't have been able to do all that without
Right.
Anne.
Correct.
But still, you know, the two of them were.
Well, and that'll lead me into my next question. If you could have several people over for dinner, dead or alive, who would they be? Would Helen Keller be one of them?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Helen Keller. Jesus.
Uh-huh.
Definitely.
Yeah. It can be a historical figure, celebrity.
Yeah, if I can include non-historical figures.
Yes.
Sam from Sam and Frodo. I thought Sam was a pretty awesome guy.
He was a good friend throughout it all.
He was actually the hero.
Yes.
I mean, Frodo wasn't. He was actually
Right.
Sam who was
Yeah.
the hero. So yeah, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who else.
That's a good group, though, that you
Yeah.
listed. And then just having fun with this question, because this is almost a fantasy question in and of itself. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Alaska.
Alaska. Okay.
I would love to see the colors and that happens in Alaska.
The Northern Lights.
The Northern
Uh-huh.
Lights. Yes. That's the only. I'm not a traveler. I'm a homebody. I don't like to travel. I don't like to camp. Every night I want to be home in my own bed. So if I ever could, that would be the only place
Yep.
that would interest me.
We're wrapping up. We have just a few more questions left. But one question I like to ask people is, if you had any regrets in life, do you have any regrets? Would you change anything about your life?
No,
No. Why?
because I am who I am because of every experience that I have had and the way that I've dealt with it. I believe strongly in self-responsibility and accepting the fact that we all have choices. No matter what you're going through, there's a choice to be made. Maybe not in the specific situation, but in how you deal with it, what you do with it. And every experience can enrich who we are if we use it in a positive way. I think the only thing that I do regret is that my second husband kind of was inappropriate with my daughter, and I have a lot of guilt
Okay.
about that. But would I take that experience away from her because, you know, it was a life-changing experience for her, you know, so fair is fair.
Right, right. How would you like to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who brought laughter, who brought understanding. I can be a comedian. To me, going through life without a sense of humor would be awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. And I'm the first one to laugh at me. So, as someone who had a great sense of humor and who brought understanding and just was a good thing,
Yeah.
for her part of the world.
Okay. Last question. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Creative, self-determined, I want to say spiritual.
Well, those are 3 great qualities. Yeah.
Because I think everything that I do is based on those 3 things.
Well, very good.
So.
Well, that concludes our interview. You did an excellent job.